Okay, so now let's look at the energy level diagram and start filling some in. Hydrogen is the simplest example. Hydrogen has one electron, so we start with the 1s, one electron. And again, if we need to, we look at the periodic chart and it tells us these two columns are the s, we're in the 1s. Helium, 2 electrons. Each orbital can hold 2 electrons. 1s, 1, 1s, 2. We put 2 electrons in the 1s. Oxygen has 8 electrons. We start with the 1s, 1, 2. We go to the 2s, 3, 4. Now this is where it gets a little different that you have to think about this. Once we get to the 2p, we have 3 equal energy orbitals. We put 1 electron in each orbital first, and then we go back and pair them up. So we have 8 electrons. I've used 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I have 2 electrons in oxygen that are unpaired. Okay, I don't just put them in 1, 2, 3 and leave this empty. Now, why is that? Because it's lower energy. Remember, electrons are spinning, right? They set up this magnetic field. If the other one is spinning the other way, its magnetic field is opposite. And when it's opposite, then they don't repel each other as much, so the 2 electrons can be in the same orbital because they have those opposite spins. Now, if you are confused by this, think about bedrooms. All right? When I had my son, I cleaned out my sewing room and turned it into the baby's bedroom. And I put the little buzzard down the hall where I wouldn't hear him screaming at night until he really cranked up the volume. And then when he was 2 years old and I repeated the experiment that had produced him, I had another baby, so I put her in a different room because I had other empty rooms in my house. Because I didn't want the baby screaming in the night and waking up the 2-year-old. That would take too much energy at 3 in the morning when I was dealing with the baby. By the time I was brave enough to do this a third time, same experiment that produced a child, I didn't have any bedrooms left. So I had to double them up. So at that point, I really wasn't brave. I was foolish. But anyway, by that time, my middle one was 5 years old, but I had to put the baby somewhere. So we waited till we saw that she was a girl, and then we put her in with her sister, and they shared a room. And we then doubled them up because we had to. But we left them each having their own room until we had to double them up because we ran out of space. Okay, potassium, 19 electrons. 1, 2 in the 1s. 3, 4 in the 2s. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, filling up the 2p. So now I am up to the 2p, 10 electrons. I'm up to neon on the periodic chart. So again, we just follow the chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We get up to neon. Now, 11, 12 in the 3s. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 in the 4s. So, potassium has 19 electrons. It has 1 electron in the 4th energy level. We call this the valence electron. The valence electrons are the highest N value. So if we think about that, how many valence electrons does oxygen have? 2? 2 is not right. How many electrons in oxygen have the highest N value of any orbital that's filled? 4? These 4? What is N? What is N for these 4? 2. What is N for these 2 electrons? 2. How many valence electrons have an N value of 2? 6. So there are 6 valence electrons. How many valence electrons does helium have? 2, because the highest N value that's occupied is N is equal to 1. 1 valence electron here. Okay, now let's look at scandium. Scandium has 21 electrons. So again, we start at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That gets us up through neon. 11, 12 in the 3s. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 fills the 3p, gets me up to argon on the chart. 4s, 19 and 20 gets me to calcium. Now the 3d, 21. And again, the 3d fills after the 4s because it's lower in energy. Okay, and it may seem weird, but think about it this way. Imagine, I use this to refer to bedrooms, but what if these are hotel rooms? Imagine that you have a really fancy hotel. Okay, you are the proprietor of the Electron Hotel. And this is a great hotel, but you've had a really, really terrible week at your hotel because the bellhop union has gone on strike. There was a power surge and the elevator is broken, and your kitchen staff all called in with the blue flu because they're supporting the bellhop staff on strike. And the night clerk isn't there either. So you are alone in the Electron Hotel. It's the middle of the night. You are running the front desk, and you have to do everything. So on the first floor of your hotel, because this is a really fancy hotel, on the first floor you have some lovely shops and a nice area where there's the fake river with the indoor koi pond and little chairs and tables sitting around with the Italian bistro sort of thing where you can get a snack. And so there's only one room on that floor, and it's right by the stairs. It's a 1S room. Then on the second floor of your hotel, you have another room just like that. By the stairs, it's a 2S. And then down the hall, you have 3 rooms. These are pretty nice rooms. They're bigger than the S's. And these are the 2Ps. Then on the third floor of your hotel, you have that S room by the stairs. You have those P rooms, pretty nice rooms down the hall a little bit. Then you have this locked door, and down here you have the 5 Ds. 1, 2. I didn't draw this very nicely because I ran out of room. This should be bigger. If I had done it on the board where I have more room, I could have made these a little better for the shape because the Ds are higher energy. So if you think about this now, here's your hotel, and in the middle of the night, somebody comes in. So Richard shows up, and he wants a room, and he does not know how to pack lightly. So he's got all this luggage, and because it's a full-service hotel, I have to drag his luggage down the hall. So I grab it, and it's like he's going in the 1S room right here. So I fill the 1S with Richard. Well, actually, it's a place, it's got 2 double beds. So when Kaylee shows up, I'm like, no problem. She can just come in here and room with Richard, right? Because then I don't have to carry this very far. Hey, it's a nice hotel. This will be fine. Now we have Chelsea come in next. And she really has a lot of luggage. So I drag it all. I drag it all up the stairs, put her in the S room. Now, as people keep coming in to populate my hotel in the middle of the night, I fill the P rooms. I start walking further down the hall with their luggage. Then we get to the 3S with the 3P. Now, when the next person comes in, I'm standing there with all this luggage, and I'm thinking, I've got those P rooms filled. The Ds are on the 3rd floor, but they're all the way down the hall through that locked door. Have you ever been in a hotel where you get put on the concierge level? This happened to me in Boston once because they screwed up my reservation, and I raised a big fuss. And so they found a room. They magically found a room, even though they had told me that there was no room because they had lost my reservation. But I had a receipt that said I had a reservation. So I raised quite a fuss, and they found a room. This room was up on the penthouse floor. It was through a locked door, and it really wasn't a room. It was an apartment. Okay, it was really very nice. And I had to raise a big fuss because they were going to send me to a hotel down the street, and we had a little discussion about that. So you go through this locked door, and it's the concierge level. It's really nice. You go in there, and they've got stuff sitting out in the hall. They have a bar set up, beer and wine and cheese trays and fruit and things. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm all over that, right, because I'm in that room. You go in there. They have the nice fancy robes with the little sign that says, if you like this, take it home. We'll add it to your charge card. They had a telephone and a TV in the bathroom. And I'm looking at that thinking, really? Because, I mean, who am I going to call when I'm drying my hair or brushing my teeth? That was pretty crazy. So trying to get through this locked door with all that suitcase is going to take energy. And I think, you know what? It'd just be easier to run up the stairs to the 4S. So we go to the 4S first. Then instead of walking down the hall there, we go back to the 3D. So you can think of it, even though it's on the 4th floor, it's easier to get to that room right by the stairs than it is to get to the D-locked concierge level rooms that are all the way down. So the 4S is lower. Now, even though the 4S electrons go in before the 3D, how many valence electrons does this have? How many electrons with the highest N value? It has 2. The valence electrons are the 4S electrons. Now, when your hotel catches on fire in the middle of the night, who do the firefighters rescue first? People on the 1st floor are running out screaming, right? All right. People on the 2nd floor, what are they doing? Running down the stairs fast. Who do the firefighters rescue first? People on the 4th floor. You evacuate the hotel from the top down, right? So we evacuate this from the top down. The valence electrons are in the 4S. So those are the ones that are going to do the chemistry, and they're going to come out first, even though the 3D went after. Doesn't matter what time you check into the hotel. If you're on the higher floor, you get out first in a fire by the firefighters with the ladder up the window, right? All right, let's look at the next example.